In this video, I will talk about the approximate cost of getting your private pilot license under FAA Part 61 rules. This is the third video in my private pilot license series. In the first two videos, I cover how to get your private pilot license and approximate duration it takes to get your license. If you haven't seen the first two videos yet, I will include the links to those videos in the description of this one so you can watch them if you would like to. In columns A and B, I have the category and the line item, and we will go over each line item and see what it means. And then there is a cost estimate, range low to range high. And on the right hand side, I have included some reference links here where I found the fees, and some of it is based on my experience. And I will include these links in the video description as well if you would like to read more. Let's look at the first one. So first one is under the medical category. You will need to book a physical exam with an aviation medical examiner or AME, and it can range around $175 to $200. Under range high, you will see I have put in so many exclamation marks because, as I mentioned in the first two videos, if you answer something incorrectly in the Med Express form, then it can get really time consuming, frustrating and expensive to get it fixed. So be very careful while filling that form. But if you fill it right the first time and there is no medical history which might prevent you from getting your flight training, then expect to pay around $200 to get your medical checkup done. Next up are the books, and I have mentioned some books here. So there's the Jeppesen Private Pilot Manual, and then this is the one that I personally used, ASA Private Pilot Test Prep Plus, and it comes with an online code that you can redeem on ASA's website for the course material in online format, as well as some mock tests which were really helpful to me. And of course the two FAA handbooks which you can download for free from FAA website. But if you like to read with the book in your hands, want a paperback edition, then you can also get the printed version, and these will cost you $21 for paperback to $70 for the hardcover. So this is the Airplane Flying Handbook, and the other one is Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. Both of these are available from the FAA website for free. Which is why for the books I have mentioned the range low is 0. You can pretty much read all of it online. Or you can spend few $100s and just get the books and read them in the physical format. The next one is the coursework. Now this is where there's a large variation. If you do online ground school, as I mentioned in the first video, then you can pay $300 for the lifetime version, and that will include your mock tests and the endorsement from the online coursework, which will enable you to take the FAA knowledge test. Or you can pay a flight school, and that is going to be much more expensive. So highly recommend to do the online ground school and get the knowledge test out of the way before you proceed with your flight training. And once you are done with the coursework, the knowledge test fees will cost just $175. FAA does not charge money, but the testing centers where you will go to take your knowledge test will charge $175 for this test. Next up are the supplies. So there are a bunch of things that will be needed during the knowledge test and also during the oral test. So you will need a flight computer, and I recommend the CX3 flight computer. So I use this one. You can also take an E6B. I just prefer the interface of the CX3 over the interface of the E6B. But again, these are in the $100 range. And then you will need a plotter. So here are the plotters. I'll recommend getting one which has this full circle so you can rotate it. It's just slightly easier to use compared to the half one. And you will need this to measure distances on the VFR charts. There will be some questions based on the angle, the distance between two airports and so on. So you will need the plotter for that. And it will also be a good idea to get a knee board. So you can buy the cheap one, which is just the board to hold some papers here, or you can buy these ones which will also help you during your instrument training later on. So you can put the iPad in there as well. So all of these supplies I have just put $200 here. Next up is the TSA clearance for the TSA fees. TSA charges $130, so that one is pretty straightforward. Now let's talk about the actual flight training. For getting the student pilot certificate from FAA, first time there is no charge. If you lose it and you want to order copies, that will cost you money, but the first one is free of cost, you can get it. Aviation headset. This is going to be a slightly bigger expense. In the low range, you can get a passive noise cancellation headset, which work pretty well, by the way. So there are some good brands here. So for example, David Clark aviation headset, and let's look at some of these. So this one right here. So you can get something like this, which will cost $400 to $500, or the one that I got is the Bose A30, and this is active noise cancellation. This will cost you $1,300, but I have been using it, and right now I'm using it for my instrument training as well. I really like it. I haven't used the David Clark, so I can't really compare between the two, but I like this one. Here I have included 1,300 in the high and around 400 in the low range for aviation headset. Next, let's look at the aircraft rental. Now wet here means the fuel will be included in the aircraft rental, and if it is dry then you need to pay for the fuel. So you can probably find Cessna 152s for about $135, again depending on where you live, and Cessna 172s right now I am paying $165 an hour wet, and if you finish your flight training within 40 hours, then it will cost you less. So on the lower side of the range, I have taken 5,400. But if you need more hours, that can cost you about $10,000 just the flight training itself. The aircraft rental will typically not include the instructor fees, and you likely need to pay the instructor separately. Instructors can charge anywhere from $50 to $100 per hour, and ballpark figure, let's say about 25 hours of instructor time. This includes the dual time in the aircraft as well as the time that will be needed for pre-brief before you take off and debrief after you land. Let's say 50 per hour and you need 25 hours, that comes to $1,250. And if you get an instructor who charges more and giving some more number of hours for instructor time, this can cost you $3,000 here. And then after you are done with the aircraft training, when you go to take your test, you'll need to schedule with a designated pilot examiner, DPE, and they can charge quite a considerable sum. So on the lower end, $700, on the higher end, $1,200. I have even heard $1,500 for the DPE fees. So keep some buffer here, but this is a ballpark figure that you can use. And finally, after you complete all the requirements to get the pilot certificate from FAA, that won't cost you anything. And it's mentioned on the FAA website here. And I just threw in $250 for miscellaneous, maybe one extra book or some more supplies. You know, if you can, then allocate some more amount here because you never know what might come up. So these are the line items. Now let's see what the total comes up to. On the lower side, it's coming up to $9,000. If you read some forums, people will say that they have gotten it done for $6,000 or $7,000. Again, there's a lot of variation there. If you find cheaper rental and so on. So if you hunt for those bargains, they are there. But this is a ballpark figure that you can expect to pay on the lower side. On the higher side, it can go very high, like $20,000. And a big part here is the flight training itself, like depending on the number of hours you need. And also if you do ground school with a flight school, which I wouldn't recommend, just do an online ground school, 10 times cheaper. So these are the two major costs that are adding to this. So there it is, the range of getting a private pilot license under FAA Part 61 rules, $9,000 to $20,000, right? Anywhere in between. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to share it with your friends who might benefit from the same. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, I would request you to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps me to grow the channel. So you can be notified when I post new videos like this. So I will include all the links that are mentioned here in the video description if you'd like to go into more details. Feel free to let me know what do you think about this video and any other question that you may have in the comments. And as always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.